Rise and Shine Rwanda.
Good morning. You're watching Rise and Shine Rwanda with me, Ivan Magwene.
And me, Peace Quizera. Coming up on Rise and Shine.
In our story of the day, we address the housing problem in Kigali.
And in rugby, thousands healed fired for the genocide memorial sevens.
In lifestyle, we see what is to expect for this year's Kigali Fashion Week. Good morning, but first we have to open up and let's introduce our co-host of the show. Host of the show. Now, happy new month, of course, to you all.
Sure, happy new month too.
I'll start off with Stephen. New resolutions?
Yeah, I have to work out some more. Get this body tighter. And
All right.
Yeah.
Any new resolutions for this month?
Very many. I don't know where to start from.
Okay. At least one.
Well, read more books.
Read
That's
more
something
books.
I'm working on, yes.
All right. Any new resolutions for this month, please?
News, I guess. Let's start with the news and maybe later.
All right. Well, all that and more still to come, but first we bring you the local and international trending stories. We'll start off with a story from Africa. Now, Chad's ex-ruler, Hissène Habré, has been convicted of crimes against humanity and sentenced to life in prison at a landmark trial in Senegal. The judge convicted him of rape, sexual slavery, and ordering killings during his rule from 1982 to 1999. Victims and families to those killed cheered and embraced each other in the courtroom after, of course, the verdict was given. It was the first time an African Union-backed court African Union-backed court ever tried out somebody on African soil and of course sentencing someone to. Now this guy is not new to African politics, neither to African wars or what. We know Chad went through a lot during the 1980s and 1990s, but this was the main man that was behind this same conflict. And this is, remember, man that came to leadership, to power through the help of the CIA. Which is a little bit, a little bit more intriguing, and we need to do a lot of more investigative journalism behind everything that went off. But in your case, this is a trial that, of course, for so many was a very heartfelt kind of trial.
It was a win for Africa.
Yeah.
Because this is an African leader. He comes from Chad and he was tried in Senegal. And before it has been the ICC trying African leaders. And okay, we have this bias towards, we have this bias against ICC because they are biased. Yeah, so Africa handling its own issues. It's a plus for Africa.
Would you say that this opens up gates to those African? Because this, remember, most people say all these people that are from Africa, some of these leaders are so powerful that not any African court can try them.
Yes.
Is this the exact proof that something could be done, especially to change the African justice system?
Yes, this step being taken shows that the Africans are going to be dealing now with their people. They'll be charging their people and they'll even prosecute them in court. It's actually very exciting, I must say, because we have very many people like him in Africa who have spent years in the ICC and nothing is coming out. So we want African courts to prosecute African leaders or anyone else who did wrong. We don't have to wait for outsiders to do that.
Peace. In other news, Rwanda to scrap visas for Africans by 2018. How awesome is that? African nations traveling to the country by 2018 as it seeks to woo more investors and tourists from the continent. This is in line with the African Union target of actually making sure that there is free, abolishing visa requirements for Africans in African countries by 2018. Now, of course, this is not a new story. I know you guys are going to say that I'm so passionate about it, but yo, can you just imagine moving around Africa and then, because every time, for example, I think of going to Southern Africa or going to Eastern Africa, Western Africa, you have to think of visa, And I've been a little bit passionate about it. Now, let's bring it back home to Rwanda. Peace. We are opening up by 2018. People will be coming here free and, they don't have to have visa to come here. How does that, in your mind, what is the whole kind of picture? And how do you feel about the same resolution being passed out?
Well, I think it's a good idea. I think I was saying the same thing when you brought this up last week or I think 2 weeks ago. And I think this is such a good idea because, you know, it will be easier for people to just come in, and when people come in, of course, there is, you know, foreign aid coming in, there is, you know, exchange rates, especially with currency and all that stuff. So I believe this is for the best.
What does this significantly mean for Africa's economy? Because Africa is beautiful. I wish I had the free movements, I could visit Africa, because if you move down, Africa is unique. What does this mean? Because for me, I get it from also that point of view of how touring Africa will be awesome.
Yeah, it's going to boost a lot of sectors in Africa. We can see the infrastructure sector. People are going to have their countries in proper ways. They are going to build roads for people to access their countries. Economically, people will be trading freely, which is something good. As she said, the foreign exchange will be coming in. We need those dollars into Africa.
And maybe countries like us could be accessing the port. You know,
exactly. The railways are being built. So the hospitality industry, tourism, you know, those untapped resources are going to be out there to every African who wishes to come.
And let's keep in mind, yes, yes, Stephen.
Okay, maybe just the point of we will have human resource coming in. They have something to offer, and the interactions, we expect something from that.
Yes, the networking.
Wow. There you had it. Of course, we can't wait for this same idea to come in place, especially with also the movement that has already been started by the young people here, the Kigali Global Shapers, to make sure that this goes on. Now, moving on to an international story. Of course, we're going back to the Copacabana back in Brazil, where things have not been very well in terms of politics. The anti-corruption minister in Brazil's interim government has resigned after a recording suggested he tried to derail an investigation into the state oil company. Well, as you already know, the state oil company is Petrobras, which has, of course, has had a lot of controversy around it. So Fabiano Silveira is the second interim minister to step down a week after planning minister resigned following the release of a similar recording. Mr. Silveira says his remarks have been taken out of context. Both men were appointed by interim president after, of course, the former president stepped down because of a court ruling, because of the cases that the parliament voting her to step down as she waits for her impeachment. Well, I'll start with the sportsman. Here's a country that is very soon getting it ready to welcome the Olympics. At the same time, battling with the Zika virus. To make things worse, working on to restructure their politics. Where do we see this kind of turmoil going? Well,
it's really tough, because I mean it's kind of that even causes a president to leave power. It paints a bad picture. But I expect Brazil to pull through slowly until they can get somewhere. But I mean, looking at maybe the Zika virus, okay, we haven't gotten many stories of recent.
Well, most experts are saying they should also start thinking of also shifting the 2016 Olympic Games, because the Zika virus is a very big threat to those that will be attending. Do you think this is a very alarming situation?
Well, I think it should be a joint effort to see that this virus doesn't spread. But again, also being spreading alarm over this situation is also not good. Yeah, so I think the Olympics should go on.
All right. Well, we know just Brazil as a city of, of beauty and happiness, and we hope as everything goes on, as everything is happening in politics, this won't affect their situation in terms of their lives. Well, there you had it for the stories, and Peace has the hottest and trending ones. Now, Peace, you take it from there.
All right, thank you, Ivan. Of course, Sudan has deported at least 442 Eritreans, including 6 registered refugees, back to their countries this month. Well, the campaign, group of Human Rights Watch has said, the senior refugee especially, he has said that Sudan is arresting and forcing Eritreans back into their hands over repressive government, especially with allowing refugees to seek protection. Sudan should be working with the UN Refugee Agency to protect these people and not send them back to, to face abuse. Yeah. Now, what comes in your head when you hear such a story, Ivan?
Well, one thing I have to say is, of course, Eritrea now is kind of, we've seen a lot of migrations by different people, citizens from Asmara to different parts of the world and from different parts of Eritrea. And Eritrea has one of the biggest number of people migrating to Europe and having to die crossing the Mediterranean Sea. And for me, what Sudan is doing right now is actually, I think, very, very bad in terms of international law, especially that sex with the refugees. They should be welcoming them with an open hand, looking at a neighbor Sudan has been over all these years. And putting them back to the repressive government is really not a good idea. And for me, this actually questions my idea of what is actually Bashir's leadership doing to tackle, actually help the neighbors, especially the Eritreans that are innocent and running away from their repressive government. So I think this is actually a movement that we should look into, and a very big story that we should go against to make sure that the people of Eritrea are cared for.
Yeah, I also don't agree with the Sudanese government having to take them back to Eritrea. Eritrea has been a war-torn area for as long as we can remember. Actually, those countries in the African Horn, Eritrea, Ethiopia, all those ones. And looking at Sudan, it has had wars. People have migrated from Sudan. Actually, people are still migrating. I don't think Sudan is in position to even tell these refugees to go, because they know how it feels. They are the people who are supposed to understand and even welcome them. Yeah.
All right. As far as I'm concerned, well, Sudan has not, said anything about these allegations. So, of course, we hope to talk more about this when we hear more from the government of Sudan. Now, the Burundi peace talks going nowhere if the government, I feel like we've talked about this so many times, if the government stays picky. Now, the purpose of the peace talks is to engage your opponent across the negotiating table. But the Burundi government sees things differently by picking and choosing whom, of course, it talks to. Last Tuesday sank the latest mediation, the mediation efforts to resolve the country's political crisis. We've talked about this before on the show, and I feel like we've talked about Burundi so many times. But of course, starting off with Stephen, what comes to your head when you hear this story over and over again?
Well, it's bad because this war has to be handled through. Okay, leaders have to do something. So when you see outside parties that can't come in to create a future with Burundi and over this situation, it paints a bad picture. I mean, okay, from the past story, you see that when leaders of countries are not communicating together, when there's that breakdown, it's the common people that have to suffer. And okay, I'm really worried for the people of Burundi, because this means if there is no ceasefire, if there is no agreement, you don't know what other stories are going to be.
Yeah, of course. And of course, I understand that these talks were mediated by Tanzania's former president Benjamin Mkapa, and were labeled a monologue, by the opposition. I like, he feels maybe that he's kind of doing a one-way thing where he's just
one side was dominant.
One side was of course dominant, and the other was kind of active. So let's take it on to you, Chantal. What would you add on it?
I think Africans shouldn't give up. No matter the case. So we as East Africans have the greatest job to do. We have to to mediate these talks. Let's bring in those people who can act as peace talkers. Let's bring forces together. Let's do something about Burundi and try to make them understand that this is going nowhere if they can't cooperate. So of course, we hope and pray that they cooperate and things go well. We want to see a peaceful Burundi.
Thank you so much, Chantal. Of course, there you had it for Hot Topics today. We'll be right back with the story of the day.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Rwanda, story of the day with me, Ivan Magwene. Now, the Kigali City Authority recently said providing affordable housing is one of the key priorities. The City of Kigali Mayor Monique Mukaruza said the authority is seeking ways to avail affordable housing to city residents. A study by the City of Kigali and the Ministry of Infrastructure plus the European Union indicated that Kigali could face a housing deficit of 344,000 homes in 2020. Between 800 to 1,000 housing units hit the market annually, with the supply skewed towards high-income earners, leaving the majority of city dwellers without decent homes. Kigali's population is currently at 1.2 million people and is projected to reach 3.8 by 2014. So what could be done with the issue of housing in Kigali? Before we open up and discuss and give you more insights, here is a report we compiled for you. Kigali's population is growing by the day, and with that comes the need for affordable housing. Investors have been urged to prioritize the real estate sector as the city of Kigali continues to advocate for the construction of housing units that are affordable for the city. However, it was observed that most of the developers embark on housing projects expecting them to be affordable, but upon completion, the costs incurred during construction push the price up. The city mayor Mukaruza says this is due to the fact that the city has limited land, which halts the construction of affordable houses. She cites that having to expropriate people occupying the land as one of the facts that drive costs up. Figures from the Ministry of Infrastructure showed to be able to satisfy the demand that will require yearly construction of 31,000 housing units annually. Well, the city is growing, and as you've heard, the city is going to be growing by at least at a rate of 2 times, because currently we're at 1.2 million, and by 2020 we're going to be 3.2 million. So there leaves a gap that housing needs to be, of course, a problem that needs to be dealt with. Perhaps we could learn from lessons like in Ethiopia, where a fully furnished apartment can go for as less as $100. There you had it on the report of housing. We believe this could be something we can talk about. It is me, Ivan Magwene, for Rise and Shine Rwanda. Well, here's a situation, Stephen. I'll start off this question with you. The population at least is multiplying by 2 times. 2020 we have over 3.2 million people. The current situation offers affordable housing to those that are making some good money. In one way or the other, are people really enjoying their stay in Kigali, especially those that are the middle income in Kigali?
It's a bit hard to find good, affordable housing. It's a bit of a challenge. But, well, there are reasons that cause this. Well, one particular point that stood out for me was the point of the investing, the real estate developers. I mean, the issues they have of providing housing is okay. It would be that's what every developer would like to do. Okay, most, but then you find the environment, the risk is high, but the returns are low. So you find many opting to build these conference halls and hotels. So there's something needs to be done so that these people can build more affordable housing.
Now, looking at it from the business perspective, we have seen banks give up money. And most people here that are doing construction, especially those that are the middle income, they're doing it for, we're either building a house on loan to stay in or building a house on loan but to rent it out.
Yes.
But it does not solve the fact that either people are on loan and they cannot afford a house because they don't have that kind of money. What in your own way do you think could be the real strategy to help these people actually be able, and especially those that are rising, because we have a very young gap of young people rising up in the city of Kigali, those that are so ambitious to live here and work here, but they cannot afford their stay here. So what can actually be done to address this issue?
One of the things that could be done is the government giving incentives to these people. Because a person will acquire a loan, then they will fail to pay because the house being rented cannot be afforded by the people. So I think the government should give these people incentives so that they use at least some little money while they are putting it up and get more profits as people rent the houses.
Would you say in this same problem, the government is the main stakeholder? Or you think the private sector
The
should
government
lead
has
away?
the biggest hand in it. If the government gives an incentive, then the banks will follow. That's what I'm saying. So, and of course, people who are affording these houses are the middle to the high income earners. We need also to cater for the low income earners. Because if you're abolishing ugly and small poor houses, the slums, where are these people going to live if their lives depend on the jobs in Kigali? So I think the sector, the infrastructure sector, there are actually very many sectors that have to come together to solve this issue. The banks can collaborate with the government, then the infrastructure sector, everything can be put in place.
Yes. Please, in your simple journalistic, analytical way, I would love to ask you, would you say that we might face a situation where all these beautiful mansions that are being taken up, that are coming up in quartiers like Kagugu, because we see very nice villas coming up, and you wish you had one of those, you know? And I wish I had one of those. Yeah, they're very expensive to sell. And we also see very nice office spaces coming up. People need those to do business. And we've seen a lot of people, even recently from Mateus, they're telling them to occupy the downer floors of downtown Kigali. Do you actually see that people will be willing to go into those houses looking at how expensive it is? Or we might see a very big financial loss for these people that are trying to invest in housing here in Kigali?
Yes, definitely. I was actually talking about this last week with a few of my friends, and we realized that so many, young people are growing up in Kigali, and they're of course trying to stay in Kigali because they have different jobs. Now it's going to become very hard for people to afford these houses because they're way over the top, way more expensive than the usual. And I feel like maybe the government should concentrate more on building nice small spaces, or putting on those different laws to build nice small spaces for young people, or even normal families that are actually affordable.
Yeah.
Yes.
Stephen, last question.
Yeah.
Do we see a bubble?
Well, there are signs of a bubble because you talked about houses in Kabuga and in some office spaces. Some of them, of those nice houses, are empty. That is a bubble for you.
Most of those houses are empty.
Yeah, sure. That's a bubble bursting. And to add on to what Pisa said, well, there's been an outcry by banks that people don't deposit money in banks. So you find I'm a real estate developer, I need to get a loan to develop housing, and
you have no money on the
money, and then the banks have no money, so which means whatever money they can find, they'll have to charge me high interest rate. And that
all right, now we'll wrap up the talk from there, but remember, this is a very grand, as I would call it in French, topic. Let us know your views. Go to Twitter and let us know what you think about housing in Kigali and how we can solve this issue. You're watching Rise and Shine Rwanda, story of the day. Chantal Uwera will be up next with business.
Here is to traveling and saving. Starting 1st of April to the 1st of June, travel with Rwanda and take advantage of our reduced fares and enjoy our world-class services in great comfort and safety.
Fly our dream to the heart of Africa.
Welcome back. Time now for your business stories with me, Chantal Uwera. Rwanda's hospitality sector had to do more on service delivery. This comes after some of the participants in the World Economic Forum that took place in mid-May remarked that Rwanda was beautiful in all kinds of ways but still lacked quick service delivery, which is slowing down the hospitality sector. In Kenya, local companies and farmers' organizations have been given a go-ahead to directly export tea to international markets. The government's decision is aimed at cutting off middlemen who have continued to eat into the farmers' profits. The Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Willie Bett said that what the tea producers currently endure at the Mombasa port is exploitative and abusive. As the world marks No Tobacco Day, Some local cigarette companies are still in violation of laws and regulations, while others have started complying. The tobacco products regulations were issued in December 2014 and came into effect on March 5, 2015, where all tobacco manufacturers were required to comply with the provision of the regulations in respect to advertising, promotion, and sponsorship. And that's all we had for you today in business. Sports is up next with Stephen Kalimba.
Welcome back now. It's time for your sports news with me, Stephen Kalimba. In local soccer, Amavubi striker Uzamukunda ruled out of AFCON qualifier. Elias Uzamukunda has been ruled out of the 2017 AFCON qualifiers against Mozambique, which takes place on June 4th after suffering a knee injury back in France. He sustained the injury during the training session, which forced him out of the club's weekend game. He was advised to rest to recover. Coach John McKinstry will now have to rely on local strikers in the game. Elsewhere, Mexican footballer escapes from kidnappers. Alan Pulido, who was kidnapped and held for 24 hours over the weekend, was able to make his way to freedom by escaping after disarming and taking a mobile phone from one of the kidnappers. The striker, who plays for Olympiacos in Greece, has represented Mexico in the World Cup before. He was abducted after leaving a party with his girlfriend in his hometown, Ciudad Victoria, the capital of Tamaulipas. It is a city overrun by cartels and kidnappings are frequent. And in the NBA, Cavaliers and Warriors to meet in the finals. Golden State Warriors overcame Oklahoma City Thunders 96-86 to win the Western Conference Semifinals Series 4-3 on Monday. They'll meet Cleveland Cavaliers, who saw off Atlanta Hawks with a 4-2 series lead. it will be a final rematch of last year's. The first game kicks off on June 2nd. In our preview today, we look at League Club Thousand Hills, who are preparing for the Genocide Memorial Sevens on June 11th. 7 players from the club were selected for national team duty in this month's Division 2 East tournament. We caught up with them in training, and here's what they had to say. 7 players from Thousand Hills Rugby Club were picked to play for the national team in the recently concluded Africa Rugby Division 2 East tournament. With such a boast, the 2-year-old club are positive of silverware in this year's Genocide Memorial Sevens. Thousand Hills were third last year in the audition that was won by Ginger Hippos from Uganda. Assistant coach Serge Shema is positive they'll keep the cup home.
The training of Thousand Hills Rugby Football Club is going well. We are training with all the players. Some of the players, they were playing in international tournaments. They have learned, experience to play the players with the high level. So we are now confident with the team and the players to win the GMT Sevens. The chance we have is that we have learned according to the weakness we had in the last tournament. Last tournament we rose in the preliminary tours, but now the staff, the players, we are ready to win, to compete with every team which will be in the tournament.
He believes the boys have learned to overcome their nerves.
Has helped to build the confidence of our players. They now feel strong to play with any player at any level. We are training physically and in mind. For that we can be prepared for the games.
The Gatenga best team will be relying on the services of star fly half Carlos Simbi, who debuted with the Silverbacks and believe they have the cohesion and experience required.
Duhagaze neza ku ruhande rw'abakinnyi. Nanjye mvuye muri national team nyine ari spirit nzanye muri equipe yanjye. Niteguye kubafasha tugatwara igikombe nyine. Ku ruhande rwanjye n'abakinnyi twiteguye neza. Na n'ubu turacyari gukora imyitozo kugira tubashe kugera ku ntsinzi. Ugereranyije n'iyo ubusizi y'ubu ngubu turi kwitegura cyane. Kubera ubushize twaratsinzwe, twabonye umwanya wa gatatu, twasaga nkaho tukijya muri game, nibwo twari tukigiye muri game neza, ariko ubu ngubu tumaze kumenyera, ndakeka ubu ngubu dushobora gutwara igikombe kubera turi kwitegura neza. Harimo abakinnyi bavuye muri national team bameze neza ku mpande zombi, rero ndumva tugomba gutwara igikombe byakanga byakunda kabisa.
So, can this team walk away with the trophy? It remains to be seen. But if they do, it will prove yet again what exposure can do for players. Stephen Kalimba, Rise and Shine Rwanda.
Well, Stephen, looking at it, of course, rugby has been making waves on Rise and Shine Rwanda.
Yeah.
But this time, I think it's for a good purpose. I mean, it's for the memorial. They're playing in remembrance for those who lost their lives. But give us a few details on how prepared are the Thousand Hills team, especially for this tournament that is in its second year, I hope for now.
Well, the 7 of the players represented on the Silverbacks when they're playing against DRC and Burundi. So they have that experience. And these are young players who've been playing for a couple of years. So they've learned to overcome their nervousness. They've learned to gel to flow. And yeah, that's how, rugby is also a game of where when you play together with a person for some time, it shows off. You're efficient, you can score better, and you play well.
I mean, looking at it, of course, it is a team. Teamwork is always out for, for actually knowing each other's way of playing. But I would love to ask you, who are those that maybe they're looking up to make sure that they're leading the team? Because I don't know a lot about rugby, but I'm always sure to get to know at least the quarterbacks and those that are, in forward.
Okay, quarterbacks, that's American football.
Oh, okay, I will tell you that.
Well, there's a fly half, That's maybe the equivalent of a playmaker. So we have Simbi Carlos, a young lad, and she's really creative. So we have a scrum half like Michelle. So we have flanker who's called Herishie.
So both, some of them, I think they're very, very popular faces now. I think they've played in some of the biggest tournaments that I've seen.
Yeah, they have really. Yeah, and there's some experience with Kamanzi Didier. This is a man who's been playing for Silverbacks for now. It must be like 10 years. So there's experience, and then there's these young people who've been playing, the Herishiers and the Simbi Carloses and the Michels. So that's how good.
Any expectations? This is the second year that this tournament is organized. What are your expectations for this year, looking at how far this tournament has come?
Well, last year we had there was an issue of clubs not having enough players and having to borrow from other clubs. I mean, that's why Remera Buffaloes lost out. They were Ginger Hippos from Uganda. We handed a walkover because the federation said you can't play with players from other clubs. So clubs went this year. Clubs went and worked on that. I mean, even in the league, where you'd have clubs not having a correct number of players before a game played, players are few for the clubs. That has been solved, and we expect a successful tournament where clubs have all their players, and Rwandan teams should win it.
All right, we wrap up from there. Now expect, of course, a successful tournament, just like he just said. Kwizera Peace will be up next with Lifestyle.
Here is to traveling and saving. Starting 1st of April to the 1st of June, travel with Rwanda and take advantage of our reduced fares and enjoy our world-class services in great comfort and safety.
Fly our dream to the heart of Africa.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine. It's time for Lifestyle with me, Peace Kwizera. Now, as the D-Day for the popular Kigali fashion show approaches, preparations are in high gear. On Sunday, over 200 people turned up for the auditions, but only 50 were selected by the casting team that included Rwanda's Next Top Model winner, Linka Amanda Kaneza, Julian Mutoni, and even Moses Torahirwa. The lucky 50 will hit the runway during the 7th edition of Kigali Fashion Show on June 24th. But first, let's see a few highlights from last year and maybe see what to expect this year.
For the past 4 years, Kigali Fashion Week has been gaining momentum, and this year followed the rest with a great turnout and 21 handpicked Rwandan and international designers showcasing their best pieces.
What's happening now is we're launching the Techno Kigali Fashion Week 2015 at the Belgian Ambassador's Residence. I believe that this event is going to promote the industry. We have international designers and local designers. Everyone is excited. And we have the Pan-African Fashion Council, which we were appointed on about two weeks ago. It's exciting that everyone has realized that Kigali Fashion Week is something to reckon with. We launched Kampala Fashion Intro and Bujumbura Fashion Week. We're part of that. They always look up to us. Before they do an event, they say, well, what's Kigali Fashion Week doing? And I'm glad that most of them are here tonight. The guys from Kampala and Bujumbura, they're all here. And we're partners, and they're very excited.
The event featured performances by Rwandan jazz legend Mutsar, Ricky Password, and Japanese soprano singer Mayumi Sakamoto, a mix of performers to reflect the mix of featured designers.
This is a very exciting moment for Rwanda Fashion Week. Not only is fashion becoming a household name in Rwanda, especially Kigali Fashion Week, I think this first time in 4 years that we are having such a big turn-up. So I think this is a very good moment for Rwanda, given the turn-up of visitors, not only from Rwanda, lovers of fashion, but also from the region. I have seen designers from New York, I've seen designers from Europe, from Nairobi, from Burundi, and this is very exciting for Rwanda. It ties in very well with the tourism industry, and I believe that Rwanda is really on the right track.
Fashion is still a budding industry here in Rwanda, but it seems to be gaining steam fast. We asked some of the designers what they thought events like this would bring to the table.
I feel like it's exposure. You know, people here in Rwanda need to know the designers that exist, and this is my first showcase, so I feel like now the world gets to know me and my brand. From what I've seen, I'm very impressed. And all the other designers, they're very friendly, and it's just been an all-around good time.
Actually, my inspiration is birth. So I was thinking that my collection, I move it to the international level. Yeah.
The government of Rwanda is behind us. Recently, Kigali Fashion Week has been nominated as one of the most successful events in the country. And as we speak, the government of Rwanda is using Kigali Fashion Week to promote the tourism industry. So that's a success for us already. That the government is behind us and they're promoting us. Fantastic.
But like all new things, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done.
I think we do have much things to do. We do have a long journey, but I think what we did, it's really hard too. So I cannot say that we're still low or we're still not really good. No, I can just say that we're trying and we are looking forward.
It's a difficult industry. We're very new and we're trying to find our footing here. I think with the Fashion Council that was established, we will be able to have a forum where we can talk and have the kind of support that we're looking for from people abroad as well as locally. So it's an exciting time to be a part of it, and I'm just glad that, you know, they chose me. And even though, you know, it'll take a little while longer, I feel like, you know, we're going to get where we need to go. So
at the end of the day, fashion is wearable art. And like it or not, it's contributing to our country's cultural climate in a big way. Here's to an even bigger and better event next year. Makeda Mahario, Rise and Shine Rwanda.
At least there you had it for a little bit of a view from last year. Now, Chantal, let's start it off with you. What are your expectations for this year's Kigali Fashion Show, especially for, you know, just being Rwanda and how you have seen Rwanda, you know, improve in the last few, you know, months, especially since the one that happened last year? What are your expectations in this one?
Of course, the expectations are high. I expect more designers coming. I expect them to be Rwandan, not East African mainly, like from Kenya or what. I want them to be Rwandan. So that's what we expect. And with the World Economic Forum that really exposed people, the different fashionistas from Rwanda, we are expecting the best. We want to see good clothes out there. We want to see them going to the market and being bought by people from all over the world.
All right, so you expect at least a bigger number of Rwandan designers than the people who are coming from outside.
Yes, I'm not actually saying others shouldn't come, but we want to have the Rwandans.
You can't say that because they're definitely coming. Thank you, Chantal. Stephen, at least I think you know a little bit of knowledge about. I think Stephen is quite the guy. But what would you sum up? You know, this in a few words of your own.
Okay, first, Chantal.
Yes.
There will be Rwandan designers and models guaranteed. Yeah, let's settle that. And me, I expect a better showing this time around, because remember last year's was, the media wasn't, it couldn't be covered because, you know, Rwanda, we had wrangles with the BBC over there, some coverage. So you didn't, it happened.
The finale.
The finale happened. Remember, John Bunyeshure has a way of getting people who is who to his functions. So with I expect a bigger function because people, I think, will float that event and there will be no risk.
Bigger and better.
All right, so there you had it for, you know, that at least a little bit of the the sum up on what we're expecting for the Kigali Fashion Week, which is going to happen June 24th. It's like 24 days from now, 23 days from now, and we'll definitely have more for you then. But for now, that is it for the show, especially for lifestyle. I mean, just being that. But of course, do not forget, we love to hear your comments and feedback on what you're talking about here in the show. Do tweet us at Rise and Shine RW. Like us on our Facebook page, and do send us your ideas for the program. Check out our YouTube page and please subscribe. That's where you can catch all the shows and the reposts that we do. Find us on Instagram, and remember, we love to see your pics. And last but not least, do check out our website and endeavor to check out what we've been doing here at Rise and Shine Rwanda. I am Peace Quizera.
And I am Ivan Magwene. Now, we'll be here same time, same place tomorrow. But before we sign out, remind me? So you said you had a resolution to do sports, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I want to be working.
Now for our viewers,
you didn't tell us yours.
Yes. Mine, mine, I don't know. I just want to love you more. Aww. I thought I was expecting that, you know?
Okay.
All right. Now, for our viewers at home, of course, Moses has Stephen has a new resolution. I need another resolution to remove certain
For you,
names.
it's to read more?
Yeah.
Read more.
And for me, well, I'll have more for you on the show as we keep
right.
going. Check it out the next time we do the
Let's
show.
have new resolutions. And from the team back here, it's Happy New Month. We'll be here same time, same place tomorrow. Do join us then. But for now, it's goodbye.
Bye-bye.